Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, your host. It's time for lunch with the coaches. We got two of them here with you. Two big names in Texas high school football. Bob Shipley, former head coach at, half a dozen places. Father of Jordan Jackson as well. Coached not only his sons, but also guys like Stephen McGee. Solomon Thomas, I think it was when you were up at Capella. You had a bunch of guys. Bryan, you won 2 state championships down at Lamarck. Coached your fair share of good guys too. I appreciate you guys joining us, and hopefully fans enjoy this each and every week during Lunch with the Coach. I'm going to kind of tap into what you guys saw on the previous week and maybe do a little bit of a look ahead and get a coach's view from this. Let's just start it off. Bryan, I'll ask you first, man. What did you think of the win over Colorado State on Saturday?
Well, I'm trying to recover from that comment you made about Solomon Thomas. I've still got nightmares, so I haven't slept since. I mean, still hadn't blocked him, and he was a absolute nightmare for an offensive line to try to handle. But anyway, no, I thought it was a great victory on behalf of the Longhorns. We played well, one of the best openers we've had in years. The depth, the speed, the amount of players we were able to play, how fast they played, the effort they played with, overall pretty disciplined other than some procedure penalties on the offensive front. So, I mean, we could be more pleased.
Coach Chip, what about you, bud?
Yeah, well, I had very high expectations, and that first game always worries me, We talked about this before, going back to, 17-18 and the debacle against Maryland 2 years in a row. So opening games always scare me. Are you who you think you are or not? It's just the doubt starts coming in. But but I agree with Bryan. I think it was a great first. There's certainly some things to work on. There's always going to be things to work on. But I felt like, the interesting thing is as you get into this, Bobby and Bryan, we're not going to talk as much about it this week as we probably will next week. But, it's going to be interesting to see how our receivers settle in and who starts really rising up to the top. I was, DeAndre Moore got to start and had played 23 snaps and didn't catch a ball. Then other guys, really rise up. So we've only got one game under our belt. It's going to be real interesting after game 2 to see how much progress we make and how that secondary winds up working out, and how these guys start fitting into their role. And what is their role going to be? And I don't know that we know for sure, some of these guys exactly where, Jahdae Barron, where's he going to be lined up at? I mean, golly, it's so awesome to have such versatility back there. Mm-hmm. And believe me, that's tough for an offensive coordinator to have your number one DB and he can play anywhere on the field and you don't know where he's going to be or what he's doing in the spot that he's at.
All right, so we talked beforehand, guys, and we said we were going to go over several different things here this afternoon. Run offense for the Longhorns, run defense. What do y'all thought of Quinn maybe, as well as what you thought of the Texas secondary, whether it's made some strides. And then we're going to talk about what both coaches agreed upon as, quote, the standard and what it exactly means about that. Let's start with the Texas run game. Bryan, in pre-production meeting, I thought you had a really good point about something that you called run efficiency. Explain people what you mean by that. And Coach Shipley, if you have any comments on it too, please add in. Go ahead, Bryan.
I see people have varying opinions on how well we ran the ball, and they look at yards per play, and I think that's a misnomer. You can't just look at your average yards per play in rushing. We always believe you had to go off of a run efficiency, and we gauged that off of did you get 4 yards or a first down or a touchdown when you ran the ball. And if it wasn't one of those 3, then it was a minus. If it was one of those 3, you got 4 yards, a first down or a touchdown, then it was a plus. And so we took all of our pluses, all of our minuses, and then we percentaged out, the pluses to see what our run efficiency was. And in the first half last week, we were 46% run efficient. We were below 50% in run efficiency. We had a couple of big gainers, a 17-yarder, I think a 22-yarder. But overall, just from a run production, run efficiency standpoint, we had a lot of 0 yards, 1 yards, 2 yards. So we're not really interested in the rushing yards per play average. We're looking at it rush by rush by rush. And when you're dominating in a running game and your run efficiency is, somewhere 60, 65% based on our standards of 4 yards, first down or touchdown, that's when you're really dominating the run game. And I don't think we quite did that on Saturday.
What do you think, Coach Shipley?
Yeah, I don't think what we did up front. In fact, that was probably the one part of our game I was most concerned about, really, was I just felt like the offensive line would get more movement. I just don't feel like we played that well up front. We played well enough to win. There's going to be a lot of games this year where you can play well enough to win.
Yeah.
But again, it's the expectation level that Kyle Flood has for that room was not met, and he'll be the first one to tell you that.
Yeah.
But I think overall it was good. I think the the thing about it is, as I said before, it's the first game against an opponent who hangs your hat on an entirely different philosophy than this week's opponent does, and that's the challenge, right? Being able to learn from what you went through and coach them hard and come back the next week and hopefully have a little better.
To your point, and this is what I totally understand it. Colorado State's a air raid type system. Michigan's, they'll line up in the I formation every so often with 2 tight ends. That's just a different animal, and you didn't get a real feel for how Texas would defend that. I want to start with you, Coach, and talk about run defense next, if you don't mind, Coach Shipley. What did you not see so far from Texas, maybe that was different from a year ago, or something that caught your eye?
Well, I thought Baron Sorrell played a really good game. I felt like I may have been over-critiquing, but I felt like we were a little bit soft in the middle at times, which really you have to kind of expect that. I mean, we have become spoiled after the 23 season with the interior guys that we had. But, Anthony Hill is who Anthony Hill is. He's a man among boys, and I really liked what I saw from him. I think, again, defensive, the running game defensively is going to be tested this week. And, I think we talked about a little bit, I think in our pre-show meeting, talking about the fact that I think the Johnny Nansen effect on this defense is going to be obvious as you go throughout the season, because he comes from an outside-the-box thinking philosophy coming from Arizona. And I think you mentioned they probably wish they had him back last Saturday when they gave up a few points. But he is a guy who likes to be very versatile. And as Bryan can tell you, the thing that can make you very effective as a coach is to look like you're doing a lot of things that you're not. But to your kids, it's simple. But to the opponent, it's a different look, and they've got to prepare for it. But you've got to try to keep it simple, for your guys. So I saw us doing some things defensively that I hadn't seen us do before. I did see us doing some slanting. I saw us getting some dime coverage we hadn't been getting in. So I think it's going to be fun to see how this defense continues to evolve and what we see them eventually hang their hat on as we get into the middle of the season.
Bryan, what did you think on defense and that the run game?
Very, very similar. We gave up some yards, some creases. There's some space in there. 4 or 5 times I didn't like seeing. It wasn't like the back hit a crease, this big and busted in there. I mean, there was some space in there, and due to us probably slanting, linebacker fits off of those slants. Sometimes when you slant, you get upfield a little bit too much, and when you get upfield in the run game, that creates large running alleys. You don't want to be getting upfield in the run game. You want to be compressing space and squeezing along the line of scrimmage as much as you can, playing, basically at the heels of those offensive linemen instead of in the backfield. So that might have been some of it. I just think, our expectations are high, and giving up 100 yards, 107 yards to a back, week one against Colorado State is not our expectations. Those aren't the standards. So the 25 carries, 107 yards, that's 4 point whatever a rush, and that we've got to clean that up, because if we don't clean that up, Michigan's still going to be running. They're going to try to run the football, and they're good at running the football. They're big up front. They're physical. That's the style of play they like to play. Like Coach said a while ago, coach them hard. And I've said this many times. This was always our mantra, especially after a big win or an easy win. You got to go in there and coach them. Coach like we lost. You got to coach every rep on film like we lost the game, because coaches are human. They fall into the same trap as anybody else. You start feeling good. You're in a good mood, Sunday morning or Saturday morning, whichever it is, and you start watching the tape, and you might let this slide or that slide because we had success the day before and we won big. But you got to coach every single rep off of film like we lost. We got to have that mentality. So as we have the standard going into this week, playing Michigan, huge game, college game day, 2 top-ranked teams in the country, the standard's high, the expectation's high, and giving up 107 yards rushing is not our standard. So I also wanted to mention David Benda. I thought he played a good, solid game. He showed up, had a couple big hits. He's physical. I think he's going to be a great compliment to Anthony Hill inside.
Yeah, I agree with that. That one third down hit, he kind of just it was a thud.
Yeah.
You could tell it made a sound when he hit him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Hey, before we get going, we've got some more questions, and I think I want to talk to y'all next about the secondary. So you guys kind of cue that up in your brain while I say thank you to our sponsor. Our sponsor each and every lunch with the coach is Laura Baker at Keller Williams Realty. We appreciate Laura very much. She's been with us from the outset. She does a terrific job for folks in and around the Austin area. Goes up to Georgetown, Round Rock, anywhere in or around Austin. If you're moving to town, selling your house and thinking about putting it on the market, contact Laura. She will actually be up there at Michigan this week too, rooting on the Longhorns. Laura at AndyAllenTeam.com. That's Laura at AndyAllenTeam.com. That's her email. Or give her a call, 512-784-0505. 512-784-0505. She is an Austin real estate expert. Thanks, Laura, for your sponsorship. Hey, secondary. After all that, Coach Shipley, after all offseason, you were like, man, the last 2 times we've seen these guys, they didn't look so hot. You were being the coach. What did you think? What did you think on Saturday?
I thought it was good. I really liked it. I really liked what I saw. I mean, we know that Malik Muhammad is good, but it's just so great. If you're going to get a guy like Jahdae Barron and you're going to play him at multiple spots defensively, it's a little bit like, from a coach's standpoint, it's a little bit like Quinn in the game. When do you pull Quinn out of the game? Because you have to remember the hype and the overall publicity you get when you have a Heisman Trophy winner. And so you don't want to pull them out too. You don't want to pad the stats, but you also want to keep the guy in the conversation. And I think the same thing could be said for Jahdae Barron, in that if he has a chance, and he may be the most versatile defensive back in the country. Let him. His interception Saturday was freakish.
Yeah,
it really was. And so you let him keep playing those positions defensively, and he again, if you could have a top defensive back award and a Heisman award, or at least those in the finals, you're just helping your program. And I can't believe that, I've said all the things that I've said, and now I'm like, we got 2 of the top corners in the country, and one of them may be the best all-around DB in the country. But I also always said this: our coaching staff didn't just fall off the turnip truck. Those guys know what needs to be corrected. They went out and got some help. We got a guy now that's working with the nickelbacks and just get fresh ideas. And, these guys are paid millions of dollars a year for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to let the guys keep doing the same things they've done. As we know, you'll keep getting the same things you've already always gotten.
Yeah.
Bryan, what about you? What did you see in the secondary? I agree with you for the comment. Rod Babers, by the way, guys, did a great job. He was like all about that interception. Bryan, what did you see in the secondary that you liked, et cetera?
Kind of the same things Bob said, just what everybody could see. The guys are finding work. They're not much space out there, contesting more throws. The play Michael Taft made on 4th down, contesting that throw on a 4th and 2 or 3, whatever it was, and just knowing it's down in distance. Like, hey, I'm not giving this up. I know where the chains are. I'm gonna sit on it. I'm gonna squat on it. I'm gonna jump it. And then the interception that Janae Barron had, finding work and robbing at post. He didn't have any threat to his outside third, so he just took off running and found work and robbed the post and came up with. That's something that no quarterback or offensive coordinator on paper can factor that in. That's the human performance, right? I mean, there's no way we're gonna sit there and say, hey, let's worry about the corner on this play. And so, Wardell Mack's interception, my gosh, you talking about freakish also. That was a heck of an interception. So I like safety play. I like the corner play. We're deep. And, it's going to be good, especially when we start combining that with pressure. And I know Colorado State was getting the ball out fairly quickly. We weren't able to get a whole lot of pressure, and that's fine. There's games you're just not going to get there if they're trying to get it out quick. But you combine that with our pressure up front and our linebacker play, and then Anthony Hill being able to be in coverage and being that 5th ad, that 6th ad as a rusher, because that guy can flat out rush the passer too.
I got to ask you guys, this is a good stuff. One of my questions for y'all that I don't know if this stat's been out there very much. You know how many missed tackles they had on Saturday?
I was thinking about it before we came on, and because I you always want to critique, right, and be hard, and coach them like we lost the game, and let's don't start smelling ourselves. We win 52-0. We're not national champions yet, and so we got to figure out a way to really critique ourselves. And I started thinking about, like, man, I don't remember a missed tackle. And I'm trying to think about, we missed tackles. We muffed the punt. We gave up yards in the running game. We didn't run the ball. We're trying to find things that we didn't do excellent. But I just can't remember a missed tackle. But I'm sure we had a couple. But
yeah, the total, by the way, according to the stat line, was 3 missed tackles.
Wow.
3. I've had kids miss 3 tackles in one play.
You're not kidding.
What did you say? What did you say?
I've had kids that have missed 3 tackles in one play.
Yeah. That's ludicrous.
That's unbelievable. That's great. And you know what? That's really that's a pretty interesting stat, considering the fact they hadn't been able to tackle live running backs in a while.
Yeah. And that includes special teams as well, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did. I thought they tackled better. And I thought, Coach Shipley, you said something that stuck with me just now. It felt tighter. It felt like coverage was tighter. And I'm not saying Colorado State had the world-beating receivers. They do have one really good receiver. But my point being that it felt like a different kind of pass defense, whether that's because of the Johnny Nansen effect, as y'all talked about earlier, or personnel, with Jade Barron, et cetera. It just felt better. And so I thought that was one of the real bright spots from a long-term perspective.
I also think it's important to give credit where credit's due, and that's the players. Johnny Barron's better. He's a year older. Michael Taft's better. He's a year older. All those guys, Manny Muhammad, he's better. He's a year older. Macumbo, Derek Williams, all those guys, they're a year older. They're stronger. They're bigger. They're more mature, and they're going to get better from last year. And I think it's pretty evident that they have, regardless of whether cover 3's cover 3, man free's man free. There's only about 4 coverages you can run, and two of them have two safeties and two of them have one safety, and then you play cover zero. So no matter what the coverage is, those guys are out there executing it and just doing a better job, probably because they've got more experience and the game's slowed down a little bit. You know, you think about Michael Tapp, how much the game has probably slowed down for him now, as many snaps as he's seen over the last couple of years.
I want to add one more name to that. Gavin Holmes made a nice play as well. Again, good coverage from a guy that we didn't even talk about, right? That's the whole idea of all of them getting better, as opposed and so you have incremental improvement across a number of players. All of a sudden, your secondary looks a lot better. All right, a couple more questions for you guys. Quinn Ewers and what you saw from him that was or wasn't different from 2023 going into 2024. Who wants to go first?
I'll take it. The thing that sticks out to me is the RPO stuff. He's getting it out now. I just like the way how quick his release is, how much more velocity he has on the football. Whereas in the past, he would flip one out in the RPO, and it's almost like he was kind of just, he's got that nonchalant kind of body language to him anyway, and the ball just kind of comes out. But he now is a little bit more quick twitch. He's got more velocity. He's coming out faster. And, we're talking about hundredths of a second. If we can get it there hundredths of a second faster in the RPO game, especially with your bubbles, your hitches, things like that. But also, in the bang routes across the middle, the no-look pass he had, so all that stuff with his arm slot, him being able to get it out faster, especially in the RPO stuff. That's really what stuck out to me was the RPO and just getting it out there much quicker with much more velocity.
Okay, Coach Shipley, what about Quinn in the red zone? You see, was he better? Bryan mentioned the no-look pass. There's that throw I thought really good to Matthew Golden at the corner of the end zone, going towards the pylon. I thought he looked better in the red zone too.
I thought he just seemed to be more confident. I mean, if he or coaches have been worried too much about red zone and they were starting to choke up, he wouldn't do a no-look pass in the red zone. He's out there having fun. And we talked about that on one of the other shows on the winning drive. The fact that that's showboating. No, it's not showboating. Did he score? He scored. It's a great play. I mean, it's a great play. And the funny thing is, Anthony Hill said in the press conference, "Yeah, man, I've been trying to. He's done that to me several times in practice. It's frustrating, man. I'm glad somebody else has to deal with it now. He's just more comfortable. He's wiser. He's more mature. I noticed even in the regular field of play, he seemed to be moving up in the pocket better, trusting the pocket more. So he's about where I hoped he would be. I think he throws the ball. He's got his release probably as quick as anybody on the 40 acres as I've seen since probably Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy had such a quick release; it was hard for DBs, and that's the way he does it, man. Quinn is just and Coach, it's like effortless. It's just like he just like he's just out messing around in the playground. It doesn't even look like he's putting much into it, but man, it gets there in a hurry.
I would like to, Bobby, we talked about this a couple shows back before the season even started, and I'm still going to stand on it. I may be wrong, and I may be totally wrong, but I still am going to stand on it. I would like to see Arch get in the game in the first half, third, fourth series of the game. I just would. I like to see him get in there when the game's on the line. A lot of teams in the past have always tried to get that guy in there, like say a third series of the game. He looked fantastic. I mean, you're not dropping off that much. Get him in there when there's something on the line. And I get it. Quinn's the guy. Quinn's the Heisman Trophy candidate, things like that. But I still like to see Arch get in there sooner than when the game is completely over, like he did the other day. The other guys were playing. We were playing 2 and 3 deep well before Arch came in the game. And so I like to see it happen. I may be wrong. I may not be 100% accurate, but That's what I would do if I had him.
I can tell you right now, I mean, Arch Manning looked really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Brian Robeson on the post-game show, and I asked him what did he think of I asked him and Rod what they thought of Arch Manning, and Brian Robeson said, well, the first thing is his last name is Manning. The difference is the second thing is he's athletic too.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, that's almost not fair in some ways, guys. And so I think, to your point, I mean, he came in and moved them down the field 2 of the 3 times, scored touchdowns, looked really good. You know, and he's got a lot of talent ahead of him. All right, I want to end up and ask y'all this question. Y'all talked about the standard in that pre-production meeting, and I thought it was maybe the best thing y'all said to me during that time point. And what do y'all mean by that, coaching to the standard? And why is that so important, whether you're playing Colorado State or Michigan or whoever you're getting after that day?
You know, another thing we used to always preach with our coaches, with our players, was coaching specifics, not results. Yeah, it's a performance-based game. At the end of the day, it's a results-based game. We know that. You either win or lose. You either score a touchdown or you keep them out from scoring a touchdown. But when you're coaching in practice or you're coaching off of game reps, you're coaching specifics, not results, because a guy could do something wrong and still have success. So guess what? You're going to coach his butt off and say, look, you got lucky. You're not good. You're lucky. We're not about being lucky. We're about being good. So I need you to do this. So take a defensive lineman, for example. If they, you know, as they're angling or they're playing base, you know, rush defense, if they get up the field too much or, you know, they lose their gap control and it causes a crease in the run game, you know, or they lose gap control and we stole them for a yard rush. Well, still, you're going to coach that guy like we didn't give up just a yard. Yeah, we only gave up a yard, but look, you did it wrong. So we got to coach specifics, not results. You can have good things happen when you make a mistake. You know, a DB could completely misplay how he's supposed to play a ball or his technique, whether it's inside leverage or outside leverage or, you know, while the ball's in the air and he panics and the result ends up pretty good, but he played it wrong. He didn't play it the way he was coached to do it. So, you know, coaching specifics, not results. That, to me, that's the standard. Our standard is this is how we want to play. These are the specifics in our technique. These are the specifics in our effort. These are the specifics in your responsibility within this defense or within this offense or within this kicking game. And if you don't meet those standards and the specifics to how we coach them and how you're supposed to play, then you're getting your butt tore up. You let us down. Yeah, the result might not have been bad. It might have been good, but still, we're not about being lucky. We're about being good. We're about being great. So to me, that's what it is.
All right, guys. Last one. I lied a little bit there. I actually got one more for you guys, if you don't mind. That is about Michigan in this upcoming game. Give me a thing or two, Coach Shipley, and you comment as well, Coach Erwin, that you're looking for that you think Texas has to do to be winners up in Ann Arbor on Saturday.
Well, I think, first of all, offensively, we're going to have to run the ball because my guess is that Michigan has probably the best interior line in the country. And I think they're going to start the game and see if they can control the line of scrimmage, if they can take care of our running game, if they can get pressure on the quarterback, then that's going to be a perfect game plan for them because they can drop everybody back in coverage, try to disrupt routes. So that's what I look to see. I think if they can do that, it's going to be a tough game for us. At the same time, I think, you know, what we do defensively is, like I said, it's totally different this week than we had to do last week. And this is the week that I've been waiting for because I think we have a good edge room, a really good edge room. I'm not totally sold on our interior guys. And there's a couple of edge guys I need to see more from. We're going to get a chance to see them. We're going to get a chance to see what it looks like with 5 flat backs coming off the ball and in a crazy environment. And they say, here it comes, you know it, we know it, they know it. what are you going to do about it? You know, and so those are the things I'm looking forward to seeing this week.
What about you, Bryan?
Yeah, I agree. We got to stop the run. We got to run the football, like Coach says. I mean, you know, with their personnel packages, they're going to be, you know, 21, 22 personnel pack, 12 personnel package. They're not going to give us the opportunity to just pin our ears back. You know, that's not the style of football that they play. They're going to play in there with a tight end or two. And so when you do that, you dictate the front, you dictate where you got to set the front. You know, it slows down the pass rush a little bit when they're able to chip with an H-back or another tight end, or they're able to chip with the running back. So I totally agree with Coach. We got to stop the run. We got to run the football, play great in the kicking game, and win the turnover battle. I think it comes down to those things. I got to admit, I didn't watch them a ton the other night. I was too preoccupied with the Aggies getting their butt kicked, and I just couldn't turn it off. I kept trying to flip back, going, man, I got to get ready for Michigan. I need to watch Michigan, but I was way too enamored with the Aggies getting their butt kicked.
I love it. Hey, well, the good thing is this is for fun. So you know, you guys aren't coaching on Saturdays. Yeah. You ain't got to worry too much about the Wolverines.
So, yeah. So if I'm unprepared on the Wolverines, I apologize. But I really don't have anything to apologize for the Aggies getting their butt whipped. So it's all right.
All right. That's going to do it for this week's Lunch with the Coach. I appreciate you guys. Thank you also to our sponsor, Laura Baker. She is the Austin real estate expert. Give her a shout, 512-784-0505. If you're moving to, from, or within the Austin city limits there or our surrounding area, there is no one better than Laura over at Keller Williams. Reach out to her also by email, laura@andyallenteam.com. Bryan, Bob, thank you all so much. Second edition of Lunch with the Coach for the 2024 season is in the books. Hopefully next week we'll be back talking about why the Longhorns defeated the Michigan Wolverines. Until next time, hook 'em.
Hook 'em.